Good evening everybody, and sorry, I'm off screen. Welcome to the studio this evening. So, more of the owl. So I'm flattening out this background here. I've done most of the other side. A little bit around here to do, but then once this bit's done, we're then able to start and carve the bird. So I need a big flat chisel, big flat sharp chisel. Yep. Keep it in that case. Don't leave them lying about loose, of course. Sharp chisels lying about loose, not a good idea. And sharp chisels lying about loose don't tend to stay sharp for very long. So could do with moving that a bit more over here, but then you get the shadow. Yeah. Okay, so good evening everybody. I apologise for not streaming last night, but the reason I didn't stream last night, and those of you who follow me on Twitter may wonder why, because I was sending out tweets later on. It's quite frankly, or quite simply, I fell asleep. I fell asleep at my desk here watching a video, watching something on YouTube actually. Which was not a reflection on the person on YouTube. It wouldn't have mattered what it was I was watching. And I woke up at about 10 o'clock. So it was a bit late to start streaming at that point. So my apologies everybody. But after that I got on with putting some more stuff into the shop. Which at least got me around to doing something. So if you're not familiar with the shop, it is mentioned at the bottom left hand side there of the screen. Etsy, zoagonart.etsy.com, where most of the, well, all of the jewellery items that you see on the left hand side of the screen in the pictures there, all of which have been done on stream, they're all available in the shop if you would like to have your own copy of it. So I put up, I think I've put about either 6 or 8, I can't remember. I only did it yesterday and today, but I can't remember. In the shop, some bracelets, both for men and ladies, and a necklace, heart-shaped pendant necklace. So quite a few changes to the shop over the past couple of days. I'm hoping in the next week to make the similar changes on the website as well, which will be on zoagonart.com. As they're mine, I'd recommend checking them out, but take that as a fact that they're mine, so I always think they're good. I would do. But feel free to check them out and let me know if you think they're good as well. So, sharp chisels, very sharp chisels here. Not much in the way of flashing blades, I'm afraid. This is quite low-key carving. And flashing blades, never a good idea. And I'm sorry if you've tuned in to see sharp chisels and what they might do. I work safely. So the chances of an accident are quite rare and quite low. I wouldn't say they're quite as low as winning the lottery, but I would actually hope they're lower than that. So this is just a lot of wood removal. That's quite close at that edge there. This is getting closer at this edge here. I have a line marked all the way around the outside, equally distant from the bottom, so that I can get the background to be the same level all the way around. The key thing here is just to make this flat and flat level, not flat sloped. Cutting it fairly carefully because by doing that I can have a really smooth surface. I won't need to sand it. I prefer not to sand carving just because it gives it a different surface texture, and with carving correctly you can actually get a really smooth surface anyway. It's a bit like the difference is kind of with carving you get a gloss surface, with sanding you get a matte surface. So I try for the gloss. Right, cut around the edge. So I get a nice clean right angle to the base. Okay, and always cut the wood off, never pull it off. That way, because if you pull it off you may well tear the wood to fibres, and that would give you a disrupted surface. Right, back to the big chisel. The white chisel is useful because the little ones you can rock this and cause angles to be created. This one is nice and flat, so you don't create sort of as many dips as you would do with a smaller chisel. So when you're trying to flatten something off, the wider the chisel the better. And as long as you hold it flat, it's not as easy to create those sort of channels. It doesn't dig in, shall we say, as much. Doesn't guarantee you hold it at parallel to the earth. That's still something you've got to do, but it does tend to take out the ridges and the dips. Of course, you can't rely on that, by the way. There are other limitations, but the wider chisels certainly do help. Okay, and we'll switch to the smaller chisel to cut that off. The bigger chisel, I can actually end up marking the wood surface that I don't want to mark if I try and use the big chisel to cut things off. The smaller one goes around the curves a lot better. And again, cut the piece of wood off like that. You don't tear it off. Now that's quite smooth. I'm going to get into the corner there. I'm not sure whether that's it's probably going to be acceptable. I think we'll see in a moment. It doesn't feel too bad, and it's reasonably flat. That's good. A little bit of a divot there, or a dip. That's rough wood, so I need to carve down past that, and that's quite lumpy over there, so we'll be working away from this corner. Now one of the things I'm going to have to do at this end is carve backwards, which is not the best thing to do at this point. It is going to have a tendency to make the wood rough. Yeah. So I'm going to see if I can very carefully carve on. Carving onto a piece of wood is really hard to do because of actually positioning the blade at just the right position. It's a lot easier to carve off wood than it is to carve on. But here, because of the way the grain of the wood is, if I carve off it'll get really rough. So in actual fact I want to carve off the absolute minimum. Which reminds me, I've got a printer to fix. A little bit of rough wood there. That's a lot better. I have a slight dip there and I can actually see that. I'm sort of doing a lot of this for tactile reasons. A lot of people with carving, when they see a carving, like to touch it. So do I. And I like to feel sort of nice smooth wood, not rough wood or things like that. So a lot of carving involves touching what you're doing. Feel what it's like and adjust the carving appropriately. Now then, that was a little tiny bit of carving just off the wood, from on the wood to off the wood. But right at the corner where you can't touch it, it is slightly rough, but it's achieves the objective. Now then, another rough area in there, and it's rough because it's below the surface of the wood, as in it's in a dip. And so when I run this chisel over the top, it literally goes over the top, it doesn't actually go in. So what I'm going to do is carve the area around to lower it slightly. I'm trying to do this really carefully, and actually in fact I'd probably be better at this point giving this chisel a sharpen, because that way then it will cut a lot easier. So the strop, this is the tool that is used to strop the chisels, because it's not, is it sharpening? Technically it is something called stropping. It does result in the chisels being sharper, but sharpening usually refers to actually grinding the chisel and polishing it. Stropping it is about correcting the edge, which gets curved over slightly at a microscopic level. So it's an interesting thing. Am I actually sharpening the chisel? If you're polishing it, you're removing metal, so technically you are sharpening it, I suppose, but it's a technical argument, one that you don't really need to care about, not even when you're doing it, to be honest. It's one of those things that if you really want to get pedantic about it, you can argue whether you're sharpening or you're stropping or quite what it is, but generally speaking, it comes out of the process a little bit sharper than when it went in. Now then, with that having been sharpened, I can now cut into this wood a lot easier and take finer cuts. And I can do it using less pressure as well, which makes it easier to actually create a clean cut. And you can almost shave the wood. These chisels aren't quite as sharp as a cutthroat razor would be, for example, but so you can't actually shave with them, but you can cut yourself. Right. So razors, for example, a razor blade is actually sharper than one of these, but not by much. And of course what I'm doing here I couldn't actually do with a razor blade. If I put it in a small, what they call a block plane, I can use a razor blade, but I wouldn't actually get it onto the wood here. There's not enough space. Okay, that's smoothing that area. I've got a little bit of a bump here. You may be, well, I can't even see the bump, but I can feel it. And it might be a case of so what, but I know it's there. And me knowing it's there would bother me, so I'm fixing it. Okay, I'm still, it's not greatly smooth. I do have a slight problem in the angle of carving here. I'm not at the best angle to carve this. Now I've turned the chisel over. I'm actually using it upside down at this point, and I'm just using it. Well, I'm not using it flat pressed because the chisel wouldn't cut, or would, well, no, So I say it wouldn't cut, it will actually cut upside down. But if it's anything like close to being smooth, this surface, which it is, a chisel that's held upside down like this won't actually make, the edge won't make contact with the wood in order to cut. So to make a cut, when you saw little bits coming off there, you actually have to raise the chisel up slightly. So I'm using it very much like I would use a plane in carpentry, but I'm doing it using a chisel, and that's when you're using a chisel upside down, because it is actually easier to use it like a plane upside down. The danger is you dig in too far, so you have to be really careful about doing it, and I actually have caused a mark there by doing that. So I've got a little dip, which is annoying because it was almost smooth. How are we doing for depth? Okay, I've got a little bit spare. Now, because I want to get rid of that slight dip, I have to carve around it, which means I've got to correct levels all around it as well, which is why to get rid of this I'm carving this bit. Okay, it's not quite gone, it's almost gone, but not quite. I'm holding the chisel like this because I'm kind of holding it like a plane. I'm trying to make sure I hold it in the same position. Oops, there's it. Excuse me a second. Give my glasses a clean. Okay, that's not bad. This area around here needs a little bit of work. Now be really careful because I am really close to my mark down the left hand side here. I do not want to go below it because technically speaking, if I go below it I should go redraw it all the way around and shave the whole surface off. I do not want to do that. So I'm taking a great deal of care really here to try and just take very fine shallow cuts. So it takes quite a bit of concentration to hold the chisel, to keep looking at the chisel to make sure it doesn't dig in to one side or the other side, or even straight down. So you're really concentrating quite a lot on keeping this chisel flat. And by the way, if you're looking at it and going, that chisel's not flat, it actually is. I am holding it flat, or I'm trying to hold it flat. And you're perhaps looking at this and going, but it's tipped up at an angle. Yep, because the flat bed is that bevel, that shiny bit there, which is called the bevel. Is at an angle. If I hold the blade that way, hopefully you can just see it. Comes to a sharp point, thick here, sharp there. I'm holding it so that that bed is flat on the wood. That's what I'm trying to do. That's the perfect cutting angle for this blade. Right, let's cut this waste wood off. Okay, just a small amount of wood there to do. Now then, the stop cut I did earlier is actually still in there, and it's actually below the level of the wood that I want to keep, which is a pity. Actually, I might just be able to get rid of it. That's why you've got to be a bit careful when you're down to your carved depth, or just about near your carved depth with your stop cuts. Making sure that they don't go too deep, because if they do, like on here, then they will show up for the life of the piece. You can play a few games, like dropping water on it, for example, causes the wood fibre to swell around there. And that can sometimes hide it, because it's kind of like a permanent swelling of the wood. It doesn't tend to show up again if the wood dries out. Okay, that's going to be enough to hide that, so we won't take that any further. Nearly. Can I do this chisel the wrong way up? Yeah. Okay. If using the chisel flat the wrong way up catches things, then there's certainly quite a few. Yeah, I can feel it as I run the chisel backwards. I can feel it bobbling up and down. So this is can be quite painstaking, especially when you want to try and just remove small tiny areas, small tiny ridges. If you're trying to, if I've got a ridge this way and I'm trying to remove it, what I shouldn't be doing is driving a chisel that way. I should drive it across. That way you'll actually flatten it down. If you drive it along the length of the ridge, you can smooth it down. If you drive it across a ridge, you tend to accentuate the ridge. You can't actually very easily get rid of it. But it's I haven't got a lot of choice around here because of the way in which the wood grain lies. It's really flat to the surface, and trying to go along the ridge, the length of the ridge, actually tears the wood, which creates a rough surface, which then defeats the object. So I'm now using it more like a knife to slice at the wood. One of the reasons is it's easy to hold the blade at an angle, at the same angle when you're doing this, because you're putting a lot less pressure on the blade, and therefore it's a lot easier to hold. And because I am going really across the grain, one of the things it's helping to do is by cutting rather than forcing its way amongst the wood fibres, which is what pushing it would do. So, well, I suppose it is still forcing its way, but by using it like a knife where it's a sliding cut, it tends to cut cleanly across the grain rather than ripping the grain. Okay, that's smoothing out really nicely. Okay, let's get rid of that waste wood. We'll see how it's going. Eat more chips. Hello, good evening. Sorry, I was concentrating more on what I was doing than looking at chat. How am I doing? Not too bad, thank you. Feeling a little bit nervous tonight because I go back to work tomorrow. I've had a week off, sort of, and don't know if you know, I had a job interview on Friday, and I'm hoping I don't get to know whether hoping I don't get to know anything this week. Because if I get to know something this week, that means I didn't get the job. Right, I need to smooth that bit of wood out. So how are you doing anyway? Sorry I wasn't streaming last night, but I fell asleep before the stream and didn't wake up until after I was due to finish. So I didn't really want to start streaming at 10:15 at night. Which is when I woke up. I'm going to have to put up with having rough wood across there. I might be able to do something about it a little bit later on. I don't really want to sand it. What I might be able to do is get a knife out. In actual fact, maybe that's the answer. I'll get a knife out and we'll see if we can do anything. So although I'm using chisels, there's no rule that says I can't use a knife. So I'm going to do just that. So where's one of these is, that's the one I'm after. One of these is a detail knife. You're off for a week now. I've just had a week off. Yeah. I go back to work. So, I had a week off because it was my birthday, and I now go back to work. Now then. Got another week off before the end of the year. I was going to say the end of the year. That's towards is the end of March. It's a financial year. Which I'm kind of hoping to take in March itself. I'm hoping to take it in March. I'm hoping I don't have to take it earlier than that. I may have to do if I am out of a job. Now this is a real awkward way to do this. What I should do is unclamp this piece and move it around. So I'm being really careful, as per my usual way of doing this, and driving this knife, not a chisel, this knife with my fingers so that I can't hurt myself. These knives are as sharp as the chisels, if not actually sharper. So if you're off for the week, what are you going to do this week? You got anything planned? Okay, that's better. I've been kind of busy most of the week, and Thursday and Friday I thought, because one of the streamers I watch a lot broadcasts during the day when I usually can't watch him, and Thursday and Friday I was, Thursday and Friday I was sort of going, oh well, I've been busy all week, I'm going to be at home Thursday and Friday. Well, Friday was a bit awkward because of the job interview, but I thought I'll be able to enjoy watching this streamer Thursday and Friday, and blow me, he wasn't streaming Thursday and Friday. Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday when I couldn't watch him, he was streaming. Thursday and Friday when I could, nope, he wasn't around. All I am literally doing here is just shaving the surface of the wood as finely as I can, just to take off the rough surface caused by chiselling across grain. I'm just trying to create a smooth surface. So when I run my fingers over, it feels smooth. I am hoping it went okay, Clarybug, thank you very much. I mean, obviously you never really know. You sort of might feel it was okay. Things like a couple of questions that I couldn't answer. But they were kind of, you either knew it or you didn't sort of answers. So I just simply said, nope, sorry, I don't know the answer to that. And hopefully the honesty is appreciated. But I'm hoping. So at the moment, as I understand the process, if I hear before the end of this week, it means I haven't got the job. So no news is good news. For this week anyway. I hopefully get to know Monday or Tuesday next week, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. And I hope it's in time. Oh, you're going to do some remote control stuff. Ah. Well, I hope that's true, Claire. I mean, to be honest, it's questions that I ought to have thought that they'd ask. But, and it's the sort of question that you kick yourself afterwards as you go, I should have known they'd ask something like that. So what sort of remote control eat more chips? No, that's true, you can't think of everything. But it's one of those, what do you know about the company that you're trying to join questions. Now let me just move my bag of chisels out of the way because they're getting in the way. Slip them over there for the moment. Okay Claire, have a good evening. Ah, car, remote controls, okay. I was about to say I don't do cars, but I actually have a 6-wheel Tyrrell model here, remote control. One of these days I'll get some more of those round turrets and finish the body off, because it's built as a chassis, but the body hasn't been painted and mounted. But I don't do cars these days. I had a couple when I was a young lad, which is like about 40 odd years ago. One internal combustion, one electric car. The electric car I used to use it. I used to work in a supermarket whilst I was at school. And I'd use the electric car in the supermarket after hours because the floors were smooth and used to be dusty, so you could drift the car around the shop floor. Great fun to do. But I don't do any off-road stuff. What I do these days is trucks. Oh, helicopters. Now those I do. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. 6 of them. 2 quads. Actually 3 quads, that makes 7. 3 quads and 4 normal configuration helicopters. Don't have a camera on either of them though. One of the quads will carry a big camera, but the other 2 won't. And I guess I could always put one on my standard helicopter as well, but don't fantastically have an interest in taking aerial photography. Yep, I do trucks. I've got a 1/14th? I think the 1/14th scale Scania 4+2, so dual axles on the back. I've got a 2+2 Volvo to build actually at some point. I don't currently have the space for it, so I haven't actually built it. There are ticks, so I've got a couple of trailers for them, box wagon, tanker wagon, and I've got some bits to make a low loader to go with it, so that I can actually pull I'll carry the tank, which I've got as well. I've got a 1/12 scale tank. They're the ones that could have the lights and sounds, yes, but I don't. I'm kind of, well, I was in kind of 2 minds about them. The sounds are great, but they're quite loud and they get irritating after a while. But the lights would be good. But the only thing with lights on these, they're the Tamiya things, is that you actually, if you want lights on the trailer, you have to physically plug the trailer into the tractor, which of course is what you do in real life. But you've got remote control coupling and decoupling, and so it kind of defeats the object to have to go over to the model, unplug the lighting cable, which is an unrealistic lighting cable anyway, and then remote control the decoupling, which is, and reverse it when you want to connect them up. So at some point and again, it's one of those to-it jobs. What I actually want to do is put a small radio transmitter into the tractor and a receiver into the trailers, sort of a very short range transmitter receiver, so that I can actually transfer the lighting control signals across by remote, radio control, so that I don't actually have to go there and couple and uncouple them. I can do it all remotely. But it's just finding those to-its. Ultimate Tiba, hello there. Oh, okay, Sherman the Abrams. Yeah, I've got what is it here? It's a Leopard main battle tank. I like the shape of it. There's two reasons why I have it. One is it's got tracks, which is I wanted something with tracks. But then the reason why it's that one is because of the shape of it. I like the Leopard. And it's a kit. I built it from a kit. It wasn't scratch built, but there wasn't any kits available that otherwise I liked. So the Leopard it was. And that did come with a full sound kit, but it's a single unit, so don't have problems with remote control lights or anything like that. Plus the other reason for wanting to develop this, like the short range radio, is for the low loader. One of the things I want to be able to do is drop the to control the rear ramps, drop the rear ramps, and possibly the extenders on the sides, and the commercial kits, lighting rigs, don't have spare capacity to do things like that. So I needed another control unit of some kind anyway to drive that trailer. Right. Well, that surface is done, I think. His head's running his fingers over it. Yeah, I think that'll do. I think that's flat enough. That's smooth enough. So I'm going to put my knife away before I cut myself. Can I show what the tank? Not easily. Mainly because it's big. And it's not complete actually. It's missing its turret at the moment. It's just the base unit. It did a little bit of it in the past, eating more chips, the scale rock climbing, but nah. It's a challenge, but it's alright for you. I'll have a go. It is a challenge, but I kind of like scale stuff more than, I mean, I know you call it scale RC rock climbing, but in actual fact it's not. I mean, it might have an actual real car body on it, but it's not really the sort of thing you actually get. It's big. It doesn't go under. It doesn't go under the camera. I'll tell you what. If I work out which way this camera's working, there you go. Let me make that camera bigger. I tell you what. Can I do it with this one? Right. Let's see if I can zoom this out. Where's my camera control? There. Oh, that is zoomed out. Okay. Alright. And it's upside down. Ah, dear, you are messing up my my setup here. Where's that camera in this list? That's the one there. Okay. Properties on that camera. Flip vertically. There we go. So it's half built. So complete with tracks. So in theory, actually, most of it obviously is the drive motors. So a lot of it's there, but there's the turret to go on top. It would have, or does have, working lights if they were wired up. This has all been airbrushed, so, and that's one reason why it doesn't have the turret on at the moment. I haven't been able to airbrush the top of it yet. This is, well, it's a 1/12 scale, is this? I mean, this is a 15-inch. Sorry, I've got things in front of the camera that I can't actually see what I'm doing. This is a 15-inch ruler, so that's the start and that's the end. So it's about 18 inches long. Is this 1'6", half a metre? Okay, I'm going to put this back down now. It's heavy to hold. Right, let's put this stuff put everything back as it was, flip that and go OK. Right, and about there. See what I'm doing? Okay. This one doesn't actually fire anything. It's not built to fire anything. It sounds like it does, but because the sound effects are in there, but it doesn't actually. You can equip it with an electronic fire, so it's not exactly a laser, but if you like, it's kind of like a laser down the barrel, so you can aim at things and fire, and so you can actually hold a battle if you like with those tanks or ones like it. But no, it's not. And yeah, I know you can get the smaller ones do fire little plastic pellets, don't they? But not fantastically bothered about firing real things, to be honest. I mean, if you're having I suppose if you've got, like small soldiers, if you like, set up, you can fire on them. But if you want it to have sort of a tank battle, then little pellets bounce off. You don't know if they actually hit anything. Whereas if you do it electronically, it will count up, and they get quite sophisticated these days to the electronic controls. They'll do things like disable the engine or make it run really slowly, or or stop one track working and things like that. Yeah, no, they still hurt though, those little pellets. Okay, Ultimate Tiba, have a good evening. Yeah, I never thought of doing that. Eat more chips. Careful not to put too much, otherwise you'll actually obviously block the thing, especially if it gets damp. Yeah, I don't have school. Right, I don't need this big chisel anymore, so I shall put that away as well. Those two. Now then, where's my reference picture? I don't need a reference while I'm actually carving the background, but now I can't find what I've done with it. Yeah, well, flour mixed with water is a good substitute for wallpaper paste. So glue wallpaper up, so you can imagine what it's going to do to a barrel of a small tank. What am I done with? There it is. Right. What's my reference for this? So the beak and that bit of the body is the where's my pencil? I have a pencil around here, so the beak which is there, and roughly that area around there is going to be the high point. And obviously the claws down here. It's going to get yeah, that face can go down a little bit, so we're gonna need to carve that way, and so that's what we're going to do here is work out where the high points are, so that I can carve away from them. So it looks, yeah, about there. Roughly around that sort of area there, so it dips down and dips away from there. So we'll take a look at doing that. The face is going to be a little bit lower as well, although I can get away with that because owls have really flexible necks, so he could be sort of sticking his neck out. Yeah. You do all sorts of things when you're asleep, turning over and things like that. Actually, I don't want to use that. I want to use a gouge. Let's use a reasonably wide gouge. Yeah, it's some pictures I took a while ago. I don't know, Moobot's doing a good job there, you see. He's trying to tell people that are just lurking in the stream about the shop, you see. That one at the left hand side, zaragonart.etsy.com, so they can go there, you see, and buy some of that jewellery that's being displayed in the pictures. All of which, as you know, has been done on stream. You text people when you're asleep. What, really, or just making the movements? You must send a lot of texts if you're doing that in your sleep. Oops, there's it. Come back here. My reference picture disappearing off the side of the desk. Now, I'm being a little bit tentative in carving this here. So that's roughly the neck line there. Okay. Right, that's either that's text speak, which is beyond me, that language is beyond me, or that was intentionally spelt in that way. I'm using a gouge here, but I'm actually sort of cross-cutting my gouge marks so that I get a more flat surface. You don't really... Oh, okay. I wonder why you just decided to text in your sleep. If I was doing that, I think I'd be inclined to make sure the phone was in a completely different room, just so that I didn't text something I didn't actually mean to somebody I had no idea what I sent it to. Otherwise that could get really embarrassing really quickly. Now, if I was a more confident carver, I'd be able to take great big chunks out of this. But I'm not, so I'm not doing. Oh, was that last night? I don't yeah, I can't. I'll have to maybe look at some of my other reference pictures now as well, just to see this side of the bird. But I'm going to carve that over without leaving a flat side on that side. And the same on this. Yeah, I can imagine. If nothing else, it saves you racking up a huge texting bill. Yeah. Please, Mr. Phone Company, can you let me off the bill because I was sending the text whilst I was asleep. Rough. That wood surface there is rough because I'm ripping the wood. So probably have to carve. Yeah, I do have to carve it this way. Okay, I thought for a minute the music had crashed. It's like the police story, you know. Sorry officer, but the tree jumped out into the middle of the road and when I hit it, it picked up the car and dragged me all the way to the side. This needs to be rounded off, but it's quite a broad sort of wide area is this, I think. I don't really like the way this wood is carving. In theory, this grain direction is one of the best, but I actually would have preferred it to be different. It's kind of causing the wood to tear slightly. I'm opening up the grain. Let's give this a little bit of a sharpen. The thing to remember when you're sharpening gouges is not just to do the bottom of the gouge, but to do the sides as well, because they're equally important. And we turn it over, and not that one, we do it on that one there. Yeah, the site classifications are I won't say strange, you know, they have an actual definition, but somebody can be classed as blind who can see quite clearly. I would prefer it, Felix, if you didn't come down here. So, you go, thank you. So that's the I'm sort of again looking at the anatomy of the bird. We've got like a band which everything is falling away from. It's going to be down here, so this is just going to round. Okay. The wood doesn't cut nice, you're cutting it wrong. What I'm doing here is I'm cutting a shape, and I'll gradually lower the whole shape into the wood rather than try and cut it to shape in one go. If Felix was a tiger. I don't know about Felix being a tiger. Junior could be. He has the reactions with the claws sometimes. I've got a few white marks which are from claws, but I've got more up my arms. Junior's never really managed to catch me. It's our other cats that have done that. And usually when they're really happy. But I didn't want Felix, really want Felix coming on the desk at the moment with all the wood shavings around, and the sharp knives, of course. Sorry, sharp blades. With a bit of luck, he'll just lay down behind the monitor where it's nice and warm. That's because of tiger. Well, you can get some cats like the Maine Coons, or what's it called now? I mean, Maine Coons are really big cats. They can be sort of like 4 foot nose to tail tip. They're really big cats. And there's one which is a cross between, I think it's, I can't remember if it's a tiger or a leopard and the cat. At some point they've been crossed, and you get cats that look like either tigers or leopards. I can't remember which one it is. Must be tigers, I think, with the stripes. And but they're quite placid cats, but they're big. They're really big cats. They're not the size of a tiger, but they're still sort of about 3 feet nose to tail. Yeah, that would split. So rather than cause it to split further, I cut the other way and cut away from the split and rescued it. Otherwise I'd have taken a great big chunk off of that. Okay, that's in that direction, that's in that direction. It must change somewhere around there. You kind of have to learn, as you're cutting a piece of wood, which way to cut it. This top half is cutting that way, this bottom half is cutting the opposite way. It's all to do with the wood grain. I'm still trying to remember the name of that cat that's across. Okay. I think I've seen a liger, to be honest, in a zoo somewhere. I'm trying to remember if the name, like the liger there, is a particular way around as to which one is male and female, or whether they sort of get called tigans as well. Which the domestic cat and either a lion or a tiger. It will it'll bother me. I know after the stream I'll ask Lady Zara, because she has always wanted one of them. But they're pedigrees, so they're expensive. But they're a cat that doesn't mind you sort of picking them up and hanging on to them, and you can take them for walks, and they talk quite a bit. which Ladies Hour likes. They do like going out for walks on a leash. Whose emote is that one in Eat More Chips? Yeah, cool cat. All the cats. I'm trying to think what that one is with the big ears. It's a particular type of cat that's got really big ears. I'm just seeing it then, just reminded me. I'm just trying to think which one it is. I think it must be a warm cat, a warm environment cat, because with the cats, their ears, like with a lot of animals actually, their ears are one of the ways in which they keep themselves cool. Is why they don't have a lot of fur on them, amongst other reasons. And they've got a lot of blood vessels in their ears. Yeah, it's not a... Yeah, I was going to say it's a weird looking cat. Well, that's not strictly true. You know, it's an unusual looking cat with the big ears like that. It's a bit like the Sphinx cats, which don't have any fur. They're unusual. They take a bit of getting used to. Now this bit of the body is going to, so the real high point, he says, is about there. Indeed, that's not a cat, it's a creeper, yeah. Come across quite a few of those in the time. Not my most favourite of beasts. The weird thing is though about creepers, if you if you thought about it in terms of evolution, you sort of think about why on earth would you have an animal that would blow itself up? But in actual fact, it's kind of the solution that nature would find. Because if you think there's things like bees, generally speaking, a bee, if it stings you, will die because the sting has a barb on it, and which sticks in you, and the bee basically rips its body apart to get away, type of thing, if it tries to get away, and it will die. But you get a lot of other animals as well, like poisonous animals and things, which of course, you know, would still get eaten, but then they have sort of bright colours and things like that to warn other animals not to eat them because they're poisonous. But you know, creepers, for example, is the sort of thing that, you know, they get rid of the threat by blowing themselves up, therefore protecting other creepers. Kind of makes sense in an evolutionary point of view. I mean, quite how nature would design TNT, I'm not sure, but have I played Minecraft before? Yeah, I have. I can't remember. I can't remember when I started, to be honest. I can't remember. You know, I know a lot of people can remember their first Minecraft version, but I can't actually remember mine. And I'm trying to think. I can't actually remember how I came about playing Minecraft either. I know very soon after I started playing, I came across Direwolf, and I've watched him ever since. And I like his style of gameplay, so generally speaking I play his game packs, mainly because they're the ones that I'd pick myself anyway in terms of mods, and so having somebody else do the work for you is a bit easier than doing it yourself. But yeah, I've played it for quite a while. In fact, the game I'm playing quite a bit at the moment, Fortress Craft Evolved, is because I saw Direwolf playing it, and it looked interesting, and I started playing it from that. Do you enjoy it? Yeah, I do. Sometimes these days what I'll do is I'll turn the creeper griefing off, so that it'll blow up, it'll kill you, but it won't actually blow any blocks up or anything like that. I just can't be bothered too much sometimes, you know, doing all the rebuilding necessary. But there again, I do have a habit these days of as soon as I establish a base, you know, first day or something, you know, or when you get to a place where you've decided you want a base, I enclose it in a fence and light up inside the fence, and then I don't have a problem with them, generally speaking, at least around the important stuff. You know, you still come across them in caves, and then you start having to farm them for things, but yeah, I enjoy Minecraft. I haven't played it for a little while, to be honest. I like Train Simulator and Farming Simulator as well, and Truck Simulator, Euro Truck Simulator, and you kind of can't really play them all, you know, at the same time, so I kind of go through them one at a time. I'll probably go back to Minecraft when there's you know, most of the mods are out for 1.8, Okay. Not really into vanilla redstone. I kind of prefer the modded redstone with the wiring and things like that. It's a heck of a lot easier. Batman 5131. Hi, welcome to the studio. You also play Farm Sim, yeah, 2115, Euro Truck, yeah. Haven't bought ATS just yet. It's I mean it's on Steam, so I can buy it at any time, so it's not like you to rush out and buy it, or it's a special edition or anything. What am I doing? Excuse me, I was thinking about being really sarcastic that I am carving with a sharp chisel. I'm carving an owl. It's called relief carving. LEL. That's an abbreviation? I don't know. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, okay. You know I'm carving. Well, if you know I'm carving, why did you ask what I'm doing? It's an. If you're asking what the thing is I'm carving, it's an eagle owl. Eagle owls stand about 3 feet tall. And they have a wingspan of about 6 feet. And they weigh about 4 pounds. You can't stop laughing. Okay, well, I'm glad it's amusing. I'm going to be better carving that way. So this is rough carving really at this point. It's block carving. I've done a lot of rough carving on the background to make it flat. Now we're doing rough carving on the bird itself to just block out the rough shape, and then we'll refine the shape as we go on. Now, very much the way in which you often paint is to do large blocks of colour and then add detail and add more detail and so on. Why are you watching? I don't know. It's a question I could ask myself quite a bit. Why do I enjoy slicing up bits of wood with a chisel? Turning a huge block of wood into a pile of wood shavings. But there's something about the sound of the wood as it cuts, and which is quite enjoyable, and of course just the very fact of taking a a big block of wood and turning it actually into something that looks like something is in itself is fascinating. Now then, that's its tail feathers there. So we've got, I'm going to come up like that, and then we've got, I say tail feathers, that's its wing feathers actually, not its tail feathers there. And then we've got the other wing that comes across there, actually across there. So that's the underbody, and this is the tail feathers. So that lot goes down quite a bit, and that'll go across there, and that's the leg mainly, and then underneath it is I'm going to do a branch it stood on. Yeah, it is. Well, it is for me when it actually works. Eat more chips. Now I need to know where the high points are so that I don't carve them too low, because if I carve them too well, basically the high points are going to be the highest point, and everything else it gets carved lower than that. And I've got to, what I've got to do here is I've got to use something called forced perspective a little bit as well, in order to account for the edges, because you can't see around them, which in the 3D objects you can actually look. So I've got to sort of cheat a little bit, shall we say, in order to make the sides look right. Because this isn't sort of half the bird, or even sort of a third of the bird, it's kind of a squashed version of it, but you kind of have to do it in such a way that it looks right. Hi, hey, okay. Hey, let's carve that down a little bit, but not much. I'll probably have to do with that is undercarve it from the other side a little bit, from the side, just to make it look right. Eat more chips, is there a problem? Okay, what's going on? Okay. I know sound's going out because I can see it, and I'm holding a steady frame rate, so I know it was going out, so I was wondering at what point you wanted to get banned. Indeed I did. I was watching chat. After all, that's the only way you've got of communicating. See, but I have the power to take away that that method of communications. I was waiting to see what you did. Well, if somebody starts playing games, you see, one of the things is people have to learn the limits. You see. Now I probably wouldn't have banned you straight away. I'd have timed you out, I think, and then see what you did after that. People who continue to do inappropriate things, shall we say, after a timeout, then get banned. You're learning every day. That's a good thing. Yes, so am I. But one of the things I learnt a long time ago is set the rules and then stick to the rules and don't change your mind. So you know, I know how far I'm going to let somebody go, and they go past that line, it's bye bye. See, the other thing about it is, and a lot of trolls seem to think that you know, that I get bothered by them, for example, or that I really want people to watch, so I'm not going to ban them or things like that, you see. And I'm quite happy to sit here carving, you see, to an empty stream, so it doesn't bother me. So if these trolls, you get the trolls who come in who think you sort of, you know, might be desperate for viewers or something like that, and you're not going to ban them, they get surprised. Yeah, well, if that, you know, fair enough. Fair enough. Eat more chips, you know. I mean, if I'd banned you, you'd have been saying it to yourself, but, you know. But, yeah, no, that's fair enough, you know. As they say, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Okay, I'm starting to get that body shape now in there for the bird. Yeah, I know, most of the time I just get bored by the trolls, because most of them are not that good. Yeah, so the body shape's coming in there. I probably could do, well, I could do with doing some work on the face, but what I'll be doing next is, I think is spinning it round, clamping it down the other way up, so I can do the tail feathers and the legs tomorrow, because we're now at 10:05. I say tomorrow on my next stream. I'm going to try and be on tomorrow, but like yesterday, I was going to try and be on yesterday and I fell asleep. And you know, at this moment in time, job wise and stuff like that, I don't literally know whether I'll be able to stream tomorrow night or not, but I'm going to try. Yeah, it feels nice as well. The one thing about carving, sometimes if it doesn't feel right, it usually means it isn't. It's not quite, but it's getting there. It's feeling okay. This does need to come down a little bit, because that, I say, that's the high point, and it's going to come away from there down the body. But forced perspective, which is well, it's not really forced perspective, it's skewed perspective, because forced perspective is a particular thing, but it's perspective is exaggerated such that you think you're seeing more than you actually are. So I've got to sort of exaggerate the perspective so this looks like you're seeing a full 3D object, when you're not even, when it's sort of a squashed. Really, it's going to actually be sort of squashed vertically more than it should be for a true 3D object. Otherwise it kind of won't look right. It will sort of, yeah, it just wouldn't look right. Some of the shapes get exaggerated. They're not as steep as they should be, or sometimes they're not as shallow as they should be. You sometimes do them steeper, just to sort of exaggerate the what your eye is looking at. So things like this, because it starts shallow and then dips away, you're actually seeing it differently to this sort of side here. In the way, well, you would do if you could see it. The camera doesn't show it very well, but it kind of leads your eye as it's going down, it's going down, and it's going down. This one just sort of falls off. So this sort of looks to be closer to you than that does. Perspective, weird perspectives. But I'll spin it round and we'll do the bottom end tomorrow, or when my next stream is, as I was explaining. Yeah, that's the idea. To be smooth where it needs to be. When we actually, it'll be relatively smooth for most of its time. But what I want to try and do is, when we're close to finishing it, the wing feathers, especially towards the end, this sort of section here, they overlap each other. So it's sort of like steps. If I can do it with my fingers, they're kind of like that, sort of half crossed, and you can see that, like steps. So I want to try and carve those in there, at least some hint of that, so you actually see the individual sort of feather flights. And here there's a, when they fold the wings, all birds do it as well. When they fold the wings, they don't fold them together, they actually overlap each other at the very tips on the back, and I want to put that in as well. So the smoothness will go away. It'll stay there for a while, but then go away. But it'll be controlled roughness. You'll have the smooth feathers, but then you'll have the steps. So, they will just be hinted at, shall we say? Won't be going, oh, there must be 6 feathers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's pure coincidence that there actually is. I just made that up, but I thought I'd just put a few in just to make it look like. I'm not that bothered about being anatomically correct. Yeah, it's quite amazing, really, how the everything all folds together really nicely. But anyway, it's time I packed up and then get some sleep. So thank you everybody for watching. It has been fun having you around. Sorry, I'm just picking up sawdust. Thank you. I hope to see you again. I'm going to try and stream tomorrow night. Keep an eye out. You know, follow me on Twitch or Twitter. you'll get a notification when I go live, provided you've let Twitch do that. But if you follow me on Twitter, you'll get a tweet when I go live, and provided I don't fall asleep, if I'm not going to stream, I'll let you know that as well. So good thing there. Follow me, you get to know when I go live. You can see some more of this bird. I'm going to remind everybody who might be watching about the website and the shop at Etsy, seviganaart.etsy.com. All the pictures of the jewellery, like the heart pendant there, which is a new one that's just gone onto the stream, onto the shop. Well, you can buy it there if you really want a heart pendant. It makes a lovely gift. Apart from that, as I say, if you want to just try and catch me tomorrow, take a look around about 8 o'clock UK time, 2000 hours UTC GMT. I should be on around there, provided I manage to get on, as I say. Thank you all, have a great evening, and we'll see you again in the future. Bye for now.